I will call to order the December 11th, 2023 meeting of the Village Council. You'll rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing and pray with me. Lord, we just thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you for this season. We thank you for celebrating your birth. Lord, we know things get busy sometimes during this part of the year, but we just pray, Lord, that throughout all we do, we remember the reason that we are celebrating this season. Lord, please be with us tonight in our actions. We just pray that everything that we do it in a way that may be honorable to you. We pray in your name of Jesus. Amen.
And that brings us to public comments. Oh, you want to go? You have public comments?
Yes, I have public comment. Well, confession more than anything else. So everybody knows that Cookies and Cocoa event was Santa on Saturday, and then today I was cleaning up from that, bringing the coffee cauldrons and things like that over. So we have 3 cauldrons. I brought the first one in, put it on the counter in the kitchen. Brought the second one in, put it on the counter in the kitchen. Brought the third one in. There was no more room on the counter, so I set it on the stovetop. And apparently, as I set it down, I also bought the little thing that turned on one of the burners. And when I came in with the cups and the other things, I came in and said, "What's smelling?" So I basically started a fire in the kitchen, and that's why the kitchen smells. And I immediately took the smoldering box and threw it outside, right there by the back door. So if you smell burnt, it's me. And if you see ashes on the back patio or in the grass, that's also thanks to me.
But you're okay.
Oh, everybody's okay. The town hall's good. There was no flame. It was just smoke.
So what did we learn from this?
We need more counter space in the kitchen.
Don't use your stove as a countertop.
Do we have a fire extinguisher?
We do. We have several. We have one right by the back door. We have one by the front door. We have one by the side lobby door.
Maybe not individually have a key so you don't have to break them.
Right. But anyway, so I was worried because when I was in here this afternoon returning the chairs and the tables to the storage room, I'm like, yeah, it still smells like smoke in here. And it's fine in here now, but if you go into the kitchen, you will smell smoke from my little burnt cardboard fiasco. So that is my public comment / confession today.
That's the first fire in town hall, I bet.
Well, it wasn't a fire; it was just smoke. There was no flame. It was close to
Really
a
close.
Thank you for that, Mr. Comer. Is anybody else signed up for public comment? All right. So that will bring us on to the additions, deletions, and adoption of the agenda.
I would like to move item 4D down to 8B,
4D to 8B.
8, whatever.
8, what did we say?
8D, I'm sorry.
8D, thank you. Can I request adding 3A?
3A?
Yeah, we're in additions, deletions, and adoption of agenda. We're on number 3. So I've added a budget amendment for 3A that I need. I just want to add it down below my officer's report.
So we've got it on the hard copy, just not on the digital copy, right, Kathy?
Yes.
So
But you have an updated agenda on your desk.
Yes.
Change
that's what I was
reflected under.
Oh, okay, I was looking at mine.
No, but I'm requesting to add it, I just add it for your convenience, and if you don't, then I strike it off. So when you guys give me things ahead of time, I put it there, and our agenda's already set.
Okay. 8D, budget amendment.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Oh, discussion, my bad.
No, all in favor.
Oh,
I was
all in
ahead of you.
favor?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. That brings us to the annual council meeting calendar. I do have two things. Oh, this one's updated. I had that we didn't need an organizational meeting, but that's been updated. And July 8th, that is like a long weekend that I feel like a lot of people are going on vacation that following week. I wonder, including myself. My daughter has a dance competition in Charleston. Yeah, and I was wondering if we could push it to the
15th?
15th, or
Yep.
if y'all object to that, we do not have to. But I feel like a lot of people are going to tack on that week to their 4th, 5th off.
The July 8th goes to the 15th.
Yes, ma'am.
Communications meeting usually meets on that Monday night
The third Monday?
at 7.
Will they give us some grace or switch with us?
Or possibly meet in,
The conference room.
Well,
conference
yeah,
room.
that's where we'll meet anyway. Can we maybe move it to 6 or something?
I don't see why not.
Okay, we'll do that. We can move it to 6.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is that the only change?
Yep, is everybody good with that, or you got more? Okay, so I'll take a motion to approve the annual meeting calendar.
So motion?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Thank you. All in favor? Unanimous, I think.
Yes.
And that brings us to the finance officer report.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank all of you for allowing me some time to get oriented. There was a lot of material that was new to me. There were a lot of changes this year. The reports, the finances are doing well. We're not really, we're not having any issues or problems that I see. Anything I do see, if I can fix it, I will. Just, maybe it's posted in the wrong place, but that's not really been an issue. But I did see, I'm requesting on the budget amendment number 5, the park master plan that you guys approved up to $40,000 at the November meeting. I want to pull that money back out of contingency to bring the park master plan back up to $40,000. We've only taken $1,000 out of it to date for the engineer.
I'm sorry, what?
I just want to move $5,764 out of the contingency to the park master plan to bring it back up to $40,000.
Why wasn't it 40,000?
Because we had moved money out for the pond repair maintenance, and we took it out of the park master plan, thinking that maybe they weren't going to do anything this year, and then they did, so the end result will be contingency funded the pond repair.
Gotcha.
Okay. And the other thing I wanted to do was, for some reason, website, it was called communications and phones were all put under one budget item for $12,230. I've just really separated the phones and the website so we can see what we spend on the website. So I'm just moving $8,220 with your approval.
And what are you classifying that under? You created a separate.
It'll go under website 1424-26. It's a GL that I was going to use for the fraud line item, but we didn't use it, so I'm just going to use it for the phones and the website.
So you'll rename that, the line item to website?
Yeah, that one, fraud to the website. If you're good with that. So, and we'll get to that approval in a minute in case you have any questions in the meanwhile. Regarding the landscaper, evidently North Carolina requires for landscapers to be licensed if they have a contract over $30,000. Our landscaper, of course, had that kind of contract and he was not licensed. So right after I got here, May, June, somewhere July, maybe even August, I got a call from the North Carolina Licensing Board for landscapers, and they wanted the contract, the current contract that we had. They requested it, it's public record, they had to have it, but they requested it because someone filed a complaint. I don't know who that was, there's speculation, but I don't know. Could have been the other one that bid the contract, but I don't know, they didn't tell me. So I think that I did follow up with a phone call a couple weeks ago and asked and found out that the old landscaper is having some issues, some legal issues now with the North Carolina Licensing Board. So it is required for them to be licensed. So the RFP went up this past weekend. Georgia looked at the contract. I modified, edited it. John went through it with me, and then we gave it to George, so he had a couple comments. So we put that up on the website now for review and for bid by January 31st. We are requiring the contractor to be licensed to even submit a bid. That's what the licensing board told me, is they're not even allowed to submit a bid unless they're licensed. The aquatic licensing is required to fiddle with the pond, but because our park maintenance technician is licensed with aquatic waters and reservoirs, so our contract reads that this person will work under the guidance and supervision of the park maintenance for the pond. So our contract is one for both.
Kathy, can you tell me what the fee is for the license for the landscaper? Is it expensive? Is it like $5 or $500?
I don't really know. I didn't get into all of that. I don't know.
I'm just trying to figure out if we're pushing out the mom and pop landscapers to only stay with the big landscapers.
I did ask if we could do quarterly contracts for a smaller amount, and they said no, it was the cumulative for the year.
Okay. If you would, find out for us what burden that puts on the landscaper specifically. If it's a small licensing fee or I mean, it sounds like just a tax on the business.
Doesn't appear to be very much, $75. But you have to have a surety bond, which,
Well, the bond is, maybe that'd be a better question. How much does the bond have to be?
I thought 75 was the number, but I couldn't recall. So.
Well, yeah, but if there's a bond tied to that, that's going to price out. I mean, if I wanted to go out and buy, 6 lawnmowers and start my own landscaping business, that's one thing. But if I just, me and my push mower, I'm not going to be able to afford a license and a bond and everything else to do that.
Well, if we have to have it, we have to have it. I mean,
No, I agree, but I just want to know what that burden is on the people who are bidding.
And I do know that there were some social media comments by someone who was previously running for council that may
It's
not be in
$10,000.
this room, that was commenting on why we were requiring our landscapers to be licensed. And just for the public awareness, it's a requirement of the state. It's not a requirement of us or me.
the compliance bond, the surety bond is $10,000.
Okay?
That good? Answers
Yeah,
my
that
question?
answers my question.
Thank you. All right. So I told you the RFP got posted. The banks, we got those moved over, settled. Everything's been reconciled. That's all good. I did move, we had about $98,000 remaining in Fifth Third, and I moved it over. I didn't put it into our checking. I put it into their money market. It has a much higher rate of interest. And so if you look at our financials right now, we budgeted $6,000 in interest income, and we're at $16,000, $17,000 now. So we are really bumping up on that, which is very nice. Let's see.
but Kathy, we've cashed out everything at Fifth Third, all accounts closed.
Everything's closed, balanced out, reconciled. All right. So on the website, we're working on the website. They are in the process of converting the data that we have over to the new website. In addition, we are working on the design template, which is issue just how do we want the Village of Wesley Chapel to look. I've asked on a couple different templates on some sample fonts I pulled, but I think our guy might be on vacation, so I haven't heard anything from him. So everything is going to slow down from the beginning of the year. All right. Another big topic. We're good on the fraud end. We've taken all the measures that we can. I've learned how to work the Truist system, which is quite complicated. So all of that's taken care of. But I'm still not comfortable with our IT. We are still exposed. The fraud that we had came through the online application. It wasn't an ACH issue. It wasn't a check issue. It wasn't all of the things that we moved to protect, which we needed to do anyway. They slid in somehow through the back door and had access. So I've gone through everything. We found an aside user. We got all that out. I've locked it down. We're using multi-factor authentication. But of most recent, the IT people, and I'm trying to be conservative, so I didn't go to the guy that I know. I thought that he would be too expensive or we'd be too small, so we were trying to just kind of get it fixed and be good. So the last IT guy that came, if you look on your bar up there, it says that, there's a new passcode. We've been told that we can share that with other people that rent the room, and I don't know IT, but I know that's not good. So I called Vitaly, is his name, don't even know his company name, but I've worked with them for 7 or 8 years. He does several municipalities, he does Indian Trail. I told him our expected budget. He told me I was correct, that we are not shielded by the online and that we cannot share a password in that way. So he is going to come meet with Amanda and I in January, and if you would like to speak with him, if you would like him to come speak to the council, I can arrange it. A very nice guy, very smart guy, and one of the things he told me was that, we're a year and a half away from going to Black Mountain, the other financial software, but Vitaly's group they host the online QuickBooks in their bubble, I don't know, but it's nobody can get through it because they protect it, because they host it. So I can still use the online version and not be exposed to anybody trying to get in any other way that's not. So currently what we do right now is before I run paychecks, before I run anything, all of you have given me your banking information. I pull it out of my drawer and I check every single person. I run the check, try to get it within 24 hours from when I run it. So that's what I'm trying to do to circumvent it right now. But when this new IT person told me that the password could be shared, that's when I reached out to Vitaly to see if he would consider us, and he will.
The current internet through town hall, we had it divided up where it was 80% went to the staff and 20% was for visitors or guests. I think we should still have it set up that way.
Well, okay, and I agree 100%, and I've asked the last 3 people that have come through here on IT, and they don't know how that's done, but I know Vitaly can do it, because the sonic wall that we put in was the same thing that we had, so I didn't change that. I do know the Cisco line up there, we had some sort of Cisco router. Nobody knows what it's bringing in. We thought that was the culprit of the town hall and the town hall login, but it's not. It's still projecting. I think some of y'all are still on it, but when we took that down, I thought for sure the town hall would go away, but I can't find it. The other IT people can't find it. We don't know where that town hall's coming from. We don't know what the password is. All I know is that on the new system, we have Village, we changed it to Village Hall, so I know which one we were on, and we have that new password, and he's telling us we can share. So, in my most humble opinion and lack of IT knowledge and what I've been through the last 5 months, plus, Amy and I, we keep flicking back and forth between 2 different website addresses, so it keeps throwing us off of our printers. So something is not right, and we need someone. I'm confident that once we get, I know Vitaly can do it, but once he comes in and gets our system the right way, I told him the expectation is around $150 a month, and he'll give us a line where we can call in if we have any issues. But I'd really like to hear what he has to say. If you guys would like to hear, I'll invite him to a meeting.
Well, here's a question for council then. Do we need to have a portion of our internet access available to the people who are visiting the town hall?
Yes,
Yes.
it's not as much as a portion of it as that routers nowadays, even one you can get for your home, you can set up a guest and you can set up one for you. That's a very common thing these days, so I don't understand. Go into every doctor's office, dentist's office, place of business, and they say guest.
Right.
And you should change those passwords periodically too, right? You can see them, they'll have a year on them or something. So I don't understand why you were getting the runaround. Whatever happened to us with that grant thing from ARP?
Well, we did get information on that grant, but the grant, the cybersecurity people, I guess we're just in line. Have you heard any more on that, Amanda?
And you said Black Mountain was a year and a half away.
Because I'd like to know about that, from that resource, that cybersecurity resource, where he's particularly working with the overall towns and everything else, what we can get for that. The other thing is, I don't know that I'm comfortable going to somebody else who's sub-hosting. That's what he's doing. He's sub-hosting an online account, if it is truly QuickBooks Online, unless he has a version that he's then making accessible online. So I think I would rather just stay with our desktop version until Black Mountain, but
We're not changing our software. We're just shielding it from someone being able to hack us.
no, I'm just saying that your QuickBooks on your desktop is safer than online for what happened to us. And I'm just saying, I would just as soon stay with you using the desktop version compared to switching again and then switching again to Black Mountain.
We went through the process of trying to convert because that was the first option that we had to convert to our desktop, but we found we cannot convert it.
Oh, I was
Because
glad to
keep
be-
trying different people to do it, we can't get it converted. The QuickBooks Online does not host reversing it back to desktop at all.
But I thought we were told that it had been gone back to the desktop when we first started resolving the fraud. And I'm sorry if y'all talked about this the month I was
We
sick.
went from desktop to online because Cheryl told us that they were no longer.
Right, but I'm talking about after the fraud incident, I thought I heard that we were able to go back to desktop.
That was our recommendation.
I thought we had done it. Maybe I missed that in the October meeting.
We couldn't, the IT guy couldn't get it
They
backwards,
provided,
is
the
my
QuickBooks
understanding.
provided a tool, but it scrambled all the data, and it was, you know, with as closely as we're watched and all of the audit requirements that we have, I didn't feel comfortable. I mean, I took it up, and I was able to vet everything, but we couldn't get it down to where it was even close for me to even look at.
I would like to talk to the guy.
Sure. You probably know
I
the most
can
about
put you in touch
internet.
with him as well. I mean, I can give you his number, you're welcome to meet with him.
No, I mean, we can meet with him as a group. I'm just saying I'd like to participate.
I think you will really like him. He is a very strong player in the market.
And we're not currently under a contract.
So Kathy, right now we have town hall guest, village hall 2G, and village hall 5G. Are we trying to reduce that down to just 2 for village hall and get rid of the town hall?
We don't know where the town hall's coming from, so it needs to
Yeah.
go.
Okay.
Which one are you doing
And we want
surveillance?
to
It's
get-
probably in the attic somewhere.
And then Lori says, and I can see, I walk, in my mind, I walk into the dentist office and it says smile is your guest password.
Right.
So I know it can be done, but what they keep telling me is the Sonic Wall doesn't have Wi-Fi capability, but we had it before. So I really need somebody, you guys don't know Vitaly, I've worked with him for the last 6 years. He is very, very good at what he does, and I know he specializes in municipalities, so yeah, I would love for you guys to talk to him.
Yeah.
He's gonna come meet with
And
Nick and I.
I will just say that council should be prepared that we may need to spend more money on some technology investment, that perhaps some of the things we think we fixed because we've been band-aiding things and,
Yes.
you know, the little boy in the dike kind of thing, that when he comes in, I would like a thorough assessment for us to get it, even if that means spending some money to upgrade it, because there's no reason we should have some access floating around that nobody knows what it is or where it is. There's no reason we should not be able to have a separate guest access
I agree.
without jeopardizing ourselves.
You could be our pin tester.
Well, I agree with Lori too, and you know, what we've spent so far, we spent money to upgrade the Sonic Wall. We spent money for them to come in and try to get Amy and I straightened out, get our printers working, get us on a shared drive so we can work. So the money we've spent has been band-aiding it, but we haven't wasted any money per se.
And I'm not worried about wasting the money. I know that you're being frugal. That is not what that's about. This is just me saying, there's a time to be frugal and overly cautious, and this is a time we need to be more cautious and spend money. We just need to get that thorough assessment and evaluation, in my opinion.
Well, I
Because,
think
I mean, we've been talking about it for months.
Yeah.
We just need to put it to bed. Y'all shouldn't have to waste time because you can't connect to a printer or it flips or it flops. Life should not be that hard.
And Ned and I will meet with him as early in January as we can. Once he has the lay of the land, I'll let him give you a call, and you guys can chat as long as you
Fine,
like.
I can just meet with them.
And then I'll try to get a quote from him and a lay on what he'll do, and we'll go
I'll
from
have
there.
him, yeah.
No, this is interesting.
And then, the only other thing I
I'll email
have
you
is the
again.
audit.
And I'll email the cybersecurity guy again, because that just kind of fell off the,
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was supposed to be a real, like they were pushing it.
right, they were.
Well, they knew, they wanted our agreement signed, but we're still lined up. They knew all of the issues we were having, and they just haven't responded.
Yeah.
I had them on a conference call with everybody, the IT, before the IT we have now, the Black Mountain people, they were on with the cybersecurity, they were on with me, and it kind of went nowhere. Right now, everybody ready for the audit? Okay.
One more thing on finance, before we get on to the audit. One of the things I looked for and I couldn't find was, you have the balance sheet in our packets, but not the current budget.
It should be under budget to actuals, either second or third page back, third or fourth page back.
Right after, just keep flipping.
So I just didn't go deep enough.
You didn't go deep enough.
Okay, never mind. If it's there, I'll find it.
Don't you have them all down the side?
Somewhere.
And then on our audit, we had, audits are typically due by October 31st, but the local government commission wanted us to use a format that was used by the counties, which was kind of odd for municipalities. Our auditor was kind of holding, I was communicating with the LGC, they didn't know when it would be up, so I went ahead and instructed the auditor to go ahead and do our audit and let's get it in. So she and I worked together, I went through everything with her, and we got it in. They had a new deadline, like November 30th, November 31st, so that's been submitted. We received confirmation from the LGC that they do have it, and now we're waiting probably for 1, 2, 3 weeks for them to get back to us with any comments, approvals. I don't know how to get through this before, so if they've got a problem, we'll know it. If they don't,
So-
they'll let us know.
So they came up and said they wanted us to use a different format, but they didn't have that information available before the deadline that everybody needed to meet.
No, because I was talking with our auditor around, early to mid-October, and she was watching the LGC website, and we could see that only 20 municipalities had actually uploaded their audits by the deadline. So the new deadline, now I'm supposing, because she told me when I spoke to her last that she had to have it in by the 31st, by the end of the day. So I'm assuming that was her new deadline.
So even though what we submitted was the prior format, not the new required format.
Yeah, but
And,
because
so I just want to make sure I got it straight. So we've submitted something by the deadline that we had, but it may not be in the new format they wanted us to use. But when that deadline came, they hadn't published that format for us to use.
right.
Okay.
Right, but that said, we are not, ARPA is our only other special revenue fund of the government funds that we have. So I told her just to do it the same way we did it last year, and if they have a problem with that, they know it's their issue because they haven't gotten the right information for us. And so we're expecting that to come back in the next couple weeks. Right, if I can just get a motion approval on the budget amendment to move the money we talked about earlier.
So motioned?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you.
Is that all for you, Kathy?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Vaughn?
The planning board meeting, last month focused mostly on what we'll have. The second item, the heritage preliminary plat for sections 11-14, so I'll wait to discuss that. We'll just tell you about a couple things. We've had a couple meetings with folks from Union County and the town of Indian Trail to discuss a study that the county would be the proponent of to identify any significant stormwater flooding issues in the East Fork 12 Mile Creek Basin. Bonnie has been working on that with the county's stormwater person and Todd Hunsinger from the town of Indian Trail. They have a general outline of what a scope of work might be like, and Lee is working with their purchasing department to determine whether or not they actually have to go out for a full formal bid for that. If not, the assumed path forward would be for the county to contract with Labella to perform that work. I don't have all the details in front of me right now. I think that there were a few more iterations of refining what exactly was going to go in there before they moved forward. But essentially, the process would be to identify any areas of significant concern, areas where flooding was taking place that is not expected. There are certain places where flooding is expected, overtopping of roads, et cetera, that have already been identified in the published flood maps. But just identify other issues, deficient stormwater controls in terms of volume control, et cetera. And from that point, devise a plan on how to, what measures might be realistically taken and how much it might cost to fix some of those issues. So that's one. Mike, did you have a question?
Yes, question on the Heritage Project for Deb. as a reminder, didn't you have a?
Hold on, we're talking about flooding now.
How much stormwater?
Right.
He said he'd get into that in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, you bet I want to have some questions about it.
I have a question. You said the 12 Mile Creek Basin.
Yes.
So is it just the 12 Mile Creek Basin or is
The
it
east-
the other one?
The East Fork and Molly Branch comes into it, and so they would be looking at that area.
So we're just looking at that section down there, not the entirety of 12 Mile Creek.
12 Mile Creek from its, I guess its source, its source up in Indian Trail, the portion that goes through Indian Trail down through town, but not the lower reaches of the East Fork.
Okay, so
It'll
we're
be
going to
a-
go from over there, the far side of Potter, all
Yeah,
the way down to the south side of
to
Potter.
the edge of town. anyways.
Okay, that's what I understood.
Since that was where the
Yeah, that's where I was
current,
going.
current concerns have been, that was the area that the county and Indian Trail and Village West Chapel all had interest in.
And so those neighborhoods that got flooded in Weston Chapel are going to be included in that study?
I
Where
would
they
be,
are. I don't-
this is gonna be an engineering study, mostly, they will look at issues that exist out there. I don't know how much I would necessarily have to add to that, other than to, work with Bonnie, assuming, I think that they'll probably be able to do that with them, since she has a lot of knowledge about the village. Some of the issues, they've kind of know where some of the issues are. One has to do, with the height, the outlet at the dam across from Wested Woods, and how that goes through the subdivision after it comes out of their drainage ponds right there on the road. So there's some known things that they're gonna look at just to see if there's anything that can be done to improve the situation. We'll share the scope of that study with you once it's been put together, but this is, my understanding is pretty much going to be a county project, for lack of a better.
To add a little bit of information on the storm that has generated a lot of this discussion. The storm that happened on September the 9th, I think was the date. I found out, I learned a lot on that call, how they monitor, how they classify storms. And help me on, well, I think you were on the call at this point too. We received from 0.2 inches of rain to 7.2 inches of rain over a 2-hour period. 5.2 inches of rain is considered a 1,000-year storm. Am I right on that?
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
In that time period,
Yeah.
that's pretty big.
So there was an incredible amount of water that fell in a short period of time. One other thing, the county had applied for a BRIC grant back in 2020, which would have taken into account some of the problems that we're having, but also hopefully with funding, give the county money to address some of these issues. It's my understanding that that grant was not accepted, right?
Yeah, so Union County and Lancaster County went in together on a regional study grant application to FEMA to address regional stormwater and flooding issues, and for whatever reason, it was not, the county did not receive those funds.
And did they talk about a financial commitment after I let the call?
Thought you sort of danced around that one, didn't you?
I'm hopeful that the county will just,
Put the bill.
it would not be a very expensive, in the grand scheme, in county budget wise, it would not be a very expensive study. And their stormwater department might have some funding available to do that, but we will do our best to keep the cost. From the way that Lee has talked about it, it's really sounded more like they're just gonna, I hope they're gonna just take it on, because it'll make it much less complicated, if they can move faster, if they can just handle it.
They call it the bond.
Related to that, just to prepare you in case you get a phone call, the Department of Public Safety has actually called me last week regarding the home Terry, the state, Terry Fox, the state representative for this area, with DPS, was in conversation with his supervisor about whether or not they would be able to offer her a flood buyout, or a buyout for the property due to repeated flood losses. This isn't her first. She has filed a claim through her flood insurance. He also communicated to me that there are a number of things to take into consideration because of the amount of damage to the property and her ability to rebuild it, and improvements that would likely have to be made. We know they can't really elevate the house any higher because of its design, but it probably would not be a very straightforward renovation if she chooses to go forward in that manner. And so there could be some contention, but we're bound by our participation in the National Flood Insurance Program to enforce our flood damage prevention ordinance. And the state they have been out to her house, and so they are very aware of everything that has happened there, and they will be keeping an eye on changes. And so it's not going to say if they do choose to rebuild it, not necessarily be cheap or easy to do the things that we will probably have to require them to do.
So if we were to get a call, we should handle it
I would just refer them
to the state?
back to me.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm hopeful, just because there will be subsequent flood damage to that structure in the future, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. When the house was built, it was not in the designated 1% annual flood hazard area. It is completely covered by it now, and that is 8-9-year-old data, and there has only been more impervious surface added upstream of that. So the base flood elevation, if it were to be studied again, would probably increase even higher than it is now from a regulatory perspective. So my hope is that the state will be able to at least offer her a buyout of that property. She does not have to take it. She can rebuild. She has to comply with the flood damage prevention ordinance if she does. Hopefully it will be enough money to make it attractive to her to do so. If that happens, the house would be demolished, and the Village of West Chapel would actually end up owning that property as perpetually deed-restricted open space. But given its location, it's also possible that if it could be a location for some sort of flood mitigation measure of some sort. So that, FYI, that's kind of going on right now. I talked to Terry last Wednesday or Thursday, and I haven't heard back from him yet this week, but I'm going to follow up with him. We have not received anything from her regarding permits to begin reconstruction. But he has also, I think, talked to Union County Building Inspector, so everybody's aware of what's going on. I know that she was very upset, as we would all be, by what happened. And so
Yeah.
it's not going to be a pleasant conversation necessarily about rebuilding this.
When was the house built?
Right around 2000, maybe?
So in less than 25 years, she went from having a house that was built in a safe area to being destroyed through no fault of her own.
Yeah.
And that illustration is why when people are doing major subdivisions, we take all the floodplain and keep them from being, even the possibility of being on private property where somebody might want to build something now. So
And the whole,
protect people from themselves.
And everybody-
She didn't do anything wrong. It's just, moving forward, it's a lot easier to just not have anything of value in a flood hazard area.
but the thing about it is everybody looked and said it was a 100-year floodplain. Oh, it's fine. It won't happen but once every 100 years. And those are just statistics. And the world has changed. Scary.
That's terrifying. All right. Any more stormwater questions for Vaughn?
Carolina Pets is almost done. They've been talking with Amy about their sign, so that should be wrapping up much, they're getting there, slowly but surely. And for those that don't know, Taco Bell has submitted plans for the property behind Target that was originally Fifth Third.
I like it.
People aren't gonna like it, but we don't control that, so.
Aston does have deed restrictions on it for architectural control, so it's not going to be
It's not gonna be a janky Taco
not
Bell?
going to be a purple and gold.
Oh, it won't, okay.
They wanted it to be, but
They've submitted plans?
it's like plan.
So there were no limits on that Aston property to the number of drive-throughs?
Not to my knowledge.
How late will they be open? Is there a
Pretty late,
restriction
I
on that
think,
side, right?
That's a limitation.
Yeah, it is. Well, that is interesting. Yo quiero Taco Bell. All right, any more questions before we move to Heritage?
Ready? First I will let Mark introduce.
Yeah, good evening. Mark Van Dyne with McAdams, or the civil engineer for these phase 11 through 14. Here, if you have any questions for us.
So we did present this to the planning board at their November meeting. I'll share essentially the same things I shared with you, and I'll discuss their recommendation at the conclusion. So this is the Heritage subdivision, of course, is split between the jurisdictions of the Village of West Chapel and Town of Indian Trail. In November 2016, the Village Council at the time approved a conditional rezoning plan, as did a similar action in the Town of Indian Trail. That rezoning plan allowed, I believe, 119 lots within the Wesley Chapel portion of the subdivision. To date, 86 of those lots have been created, so they were authorized to do another 33. This process, the initial set of plans for this preliminary plat for the final phase within the Village of Wesley Chapel was actually begun in January 2020 when Robin was still here. So a lot of the initial reviews were started back then. I'm not sure of all the machinations about what happened in between then and when I showed up. But we essentially, Bonnie was kind of the last piece of that puzzle. She completed her review and gave the go-ahead from an engineering perspective on October 25th to move forward with the planning board and council to review the preliminary plat. There are a couple, one really noticeable difference between the approved concept plan and the preliminary plat. Where the rezoning concept plan shows there being a loop road along the southern edge of the subdivision in this last western phase, the proposed preliminary plat has a cul-de-sac on either side, and the stormwater pond moved from the eastern portion of this phase into the middle, and so that loop road connecting at the bottom, or the southern end of the property, no longer is part of that. I'm not sure that I'm sure there's engineering reasons for how that change was made. That did result in a reduction of the total number of lots in this last phase from 33 down to 30. So there will be 3 fewer lots in total that were proposed that were approved in the 2016 rezoning concept. Another notable change, and this was done at my behest after the incident in the courtyards with the removal of the already planted trees and the replacement. After that situation came to light, I communicated with Mark about that and stated that since the roads within the Village of Wesley Chapel portion of the subdivision will be maintained by NCDOT, those in the Indian Trail portion will be maintained by the Town of Indian Trail. It's a great situation. Let's not do this again. And so in the Indian Trail portion, of course, they have Shumard oaks, or I think that was the tree species that was done in the previous phases, including the Wesley Chapel phase. And these trees grow to be very tall, and it's likely that NCDOT is going to require that those already planted trees be removed prior to them accepting those portions of the streets. for the village. So I asked Mark, I related that concern to him, and said that, and asked if they could change the species from a large maturing species, which NCDOT would not approve, to a small maturing species of one of the varieties that they had communicated would have been okay to use in the courtyards. And so we went to that, and their landscape team selected a couple of varieties from that, Saucer, Magnolia, and Carolina Cherry Laurel. The planning board, I talked about that with the planning board, and a couple of them had some concerns because the typical varieties, and I talked to Keith about this as well, the typical varieties of those tend to be in more of a bushier form, especially when they're young. And so we provided them they are approved in our species list, so we might want to think about taking those out of our small.
I was gonna bring up, the urban forester told us those were approved species.
At which point, the original street trees, or?
Well, I thought the whole reason we had the urban forester, so we don't end up.
Well, they are approved species, and they can be
It's the
used for street
location.
trees. The planning board did not like those varieties because of their typical form being, you can prune them properly so that they grow into a single stem trunk, but it requires maybe more effort than is going to be applied by a typical HVAC. And also, the other part of that, Keith communicated that, using this smaller species, that getting 2-inch caliber trees can be much more difficult on the open market, and recommended that we also allow that they be allowed to use 1 1/4-inch caliber trees for their small maturing street tree varieties for this section. And I would assume this would be, there's a different engineering group that's working on the final plats for the previous 2 portions in the village. I communicated that same concern with him, especially after I drove through them and noted these very large trees and started having flashbacks to the conversation that we had about a year ago regarding courtyards. And so that's really those 2 things are really the big changes that came out of this, or the relocation of the stormwater pond, the elimination of the road, looping instead of doing cul-de-sacs as is proposed now, as well as the need, a joint need between us, the developer, the HOA, everybody, to not install trees that will have to be removed. To have the council grant approval with the condition that they be allowed to select one of those varieties that the NCDOT had approved for courtyards in previous experience.
The thing that concerns me is that the urban forester and the Department of Transportation aren't on the same page as far as what trees are approved and what trees are not.
Well, it's the circumstances. You can have a tree approved, like if we had a requirement that every house has 2 trees in the front yard, 2 trees in the backyard, these recommended species would be perfectly fine. It's the fact that they're on the street that it's problematic. Particularly, in my opinion, bushy trees are more problematic from a visibility perspective.
Yeah.
Can we direct planning board to go through the list and take out or add a stipulation about street trees?
Yeah, I think that what we really need to do is, since the majority, on private streets, it's not going to be a problem, because they can put whatever kind of 80-foot tall tree they want to there. The NCDOT is not going to take over any public roads with those large maturing trees in the right-of-way. And so I think what we probably need to do more than anything else is, we have the list that the NCDOT roadside environment guy gave. We have Keith's concurrence and recommendation about the type of trees and the size, is establish a new standard for publicly maintained proposed streets in major subdivisions to utilize one of these very limited number, but also to not have a monoculture, to require that they be a variety of at least 2 species selected for that, just to keep there from being a blight or something that would take out all the trees.
Yeah. Is there any other requirements for trees elsewhere on individual parcels or in a subdivision
In a
plan?
residential subdivision, it would only come into play really around like an amenity area, where if there's parking or something along those lines. The tree requirements generally apply more to non-residential development.
Yeah, but, because I'm wondering, because when Keith spoke to the planning board a few months ago, one of the things he talked about was towns requiring developers to plant a certain number of trees in the backyard and front yard to help with the tree canopy so that we can negate the issues with it becoming a heat island. And that's kind of where my thing.
Yeah, we can't actually, in reviewing the Pinnacle, we're working on the final bond release on that, so I was down there checking out some stuff as part of that. And what they had done, what the council had approved at the time that subdivision was done, was they actually did plant trees in the front yards and not in the planting strip, except in some limited locations around the perimeter and by the clubhouse. The rest of the required street trees actually went to the yards, which actually worked better in that case, having the narrower planting strip.
But am I correct, that it's just at the entrances where you might run into situations where power lines will be affected? You know, you can plant a nice little tree that's 30 feet from the power lines when it's planted, but come back 5 years later, now all of a sudden you've got a tree growing into a power line.
And that's one of the things that Keith looks at, things like utilities. On a new site plan, that's like we're going this Aurora, Price Mill Creek. He's looking at the intersection of utilities and the trees to make sure that everything's going in the right places. So we are looking at that. But yeah, so in the interior, all these new subdivisions, all the wire utilities are going to be underground. So it's not as much of a concern on the interior, but yes, along the street frontage, both NCDOT, roadside environmental, as well as Duke, et cetera, Union Power would be involved in making sure that we were going down the right path. Anything we're doing along the road.
So we would prevent somebody from planting a 40-foot tree under a power line,
Right.
but they could plant a 2-foot bush.
I think there is a
Within
provision
15 feet or
in the
something.
ordinance about, when you're within a distance of overhead power lines, you can use a small maturing.
Yeah, it's like a
tree
jink
instead
and
of
a jink that you can.
large.
But what we're looking at now is just approval of this final plat,
Yeah.
right?
This is a preliminary plat.
Preliminary plat, and that consists of 30 lots?
It's 30 lots.
Okay.
That's right. 33 would have been approved, 33 were on the
Before the
concept.
stormwater pond
And the
was.
stormwater pond, we're not,
Yeah, I mean, the topo, the way the topography, there's a draw that came right through the middle of the site, and then the stormwater pond was kind of on the high ground. So you're digging probably through rock and stuff. And where all the water wanted to go to that internal spot. So really, it just made sense from a design standpoint, to kind of split those and put the stormwater pond where the water was going and wanted to go. Both for temporary erosion and then for the permanent.
But we're talking 30 lots still.
that's right, 30 lots.
Okay.
86 have been, the 86 that are there, I think every single one of them has a house on it now. There's a few minor things to finish up that section, the previous two phases that are in Mystic Chapel. I'm not sure what all's left in the Indian Trail part.
So help me understand, you're talking about large maturing trees that are already in the ground on the street?
Not in this section. This will come up down the road once they want to get those streets taken over by NCDOT in the previous phases, because the trees have been planted.
And they're large maturing trees?
They're large maturing trees. They're very good size now. They're very nice
But
trees.
they're not on the road?
Yeah, they're on the road. They're within 3 or 4 feet of the curb.
But we're just talking about a strip that's on the actual road, main road?
It's a 6-foot planting strip. And in Indian Trail, that's fine. Right? That's their streets, and that's what they want, large maturing trees. And NCDOT does not want large maturing trees within their right-of-way where it can be avoided, especially in a residential neighborhood. And so that's the conundrum we're looking at. And I don't, maybe it'll be different this time around. I would hate to see another, more trees installed that then have to be taken out, because it's a waste of everybody's time and money.
Yeah, but these, you're talking cherry trees, crepe myrtles, I mean, they're small, they're more like bushes than they are trees.
Yeah,
I just,
they are.
I
Well,
know.
crepe myrtles are typically multi-stemmed shrubs, And a lot of people make them into trees, but you're always perpetually dealing with it as to make it a tree. The same with the saucer magnolia. I've had all three of the things you're talking about. Same with the saucer magnolia. You're always working on it, trying to make it a tree. Cherry trees a little less so, but when they are just slower growing to get that point. All three of them are beautiful when they're blooming. No objection to them, but I can understand, the red bud, I think was one of the options. It was a nice little tree. I don't remember the other one.
Chinese fringe tree.
Was it one of the dogwoods or something, maybe? I don't remember.
I'd just like to see us do something that will prevent things like the courtyard from ever happening. And basically, the courtyard, they clear cut that land. I mean, I don't care what you say, they clear cut that land.
Well, we're past that point here.
I know, but it just still,
So what are you asking for us to do tonight?
So if you choose to move forward with the approval, because we haven't settled on a variety as a recommendation to change from the saucer, we have plans submitted with two types of small maturing trees that are in our approved list. The
Magnolia.
planning board recommended that be changed and that Keith weighed in on what the change should be. We went back to what NCDOT had said previously. And so the change would be to select whether this list of 5 that we settled on varieties would be an acceptable list for the applicant and developer to choose from, and that they be allowed to install those with a 1 1/4 inch caliper versus the 2 inch, just to make it more likely that they'd be able to find the materials on the market when it comes time to do this. So it's just harder to buy larger size,
And we're
larger trunk
also
trees at that.
encouraging 5 instead of 1 type of tree.
Well, we
Right.
recommend it be 2 or 3 from that list.
At least.
But the number of trees is going to remain the same.
The number of trees remain the same, that's right.
Normally, when you reduce the diameter, you're increasing the number.
Then we start running into issues with the placement of the trees, with utilities and driveways, and you start running out of room because of how small the plots are.
It says replacing large maturing with 2 ornamental trees. Oh, they're talking about the magnolia and the laurel, is the 2 trees they're talking about.
Right.
This is a lesson learned that you don't believe what you're told when people say, I can't take out any trees. I mean, I gotta squeeze all these houses in. We'll squeeze all the trees in, we'll remediate them.
Yeah, but at the
And
same,
then this is what's happened.
but at the same time, we ran into a situation with a subdivision where the landscape architect said, your ordinance require I put in X number of trees. And we know that by putting in this number of trees in this density of an area, we're going to lose 20% of the trees.
Yeah, but we didn't make them remove a house, so they didn't have to do that. We should have said, then you lose 2 houses, and
Yeah.
council did not. And that's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
Y'all say, oh yeah, squeeze them in.
No.
Say, no, you get rid of 5 houses.
You can't squeeze them in.
You can't squeeze them in. That's a lesson learned the hard way.
And so the concern would be just maintaining clear sight lines out of the driveways as well as where the meter, so every house is gonna have a water meter, it's gonna have a driveway, there's electric boxes, there's all kinds of stuff along the right of way that, will kind of light fixtures, pedestrian lighting, et cetera, that's gonna help kind of dictate where the location of those trees can actually go in.
I think the lesson learned is that 3 and 4 houses per acre is just not
It just
doable.
doesn't work.
It's not feasible, it
Absolutely.
just doesn't work.
Not when you have to put roads in
Nope.
and retaining ponds and utilities.
So tonight you are asking for village council to make a motion and either approve this preliminary plat, approve with conditions, or deny approval of the preliminary plat.
And the preliminary plat, the only item of contention is related to these trees?
I'm sorry.
The only item of contention that needs changing from the preliminary plat is these trees?
Yeah, that would be the deviation from a standard, really to address a situation that has come to light in between the initial approval of the zoning and the previous phases of subdivision and a year ago, basically, that we then communicated as quickly as we could to the applicant. And so I actually followed up with Mark about it as we were getting close to this, said, hey, we need to make sure the trees are here. He said, we'd already communicated about it back in February, I think, so everybody was aware of it. I had actually forgotten I had talked to him about it, but things take some times.
Okay, so council, we need a motion either to approve with conditions, or deny approval of the preliminary plat for Heritage Phase 623.
Is the approval with conditions, the only condition being the trees, the mixture of trees,
I would say
the
this is
selection of trees?
And the
The condition I would just say that the final selection, of the trees would be subject to approval by the Union, consensus between the Union County Urban Forester and the planner about the final selection. And that would have to be decided before the mayor affixed the signature to the preliminary plat.
I prefer the developer's tree choice, magnolia and laurel, than any of these other shrubs. I know.
So what was the number on this thing? I'll make a motion that we approve the preliminary plat for the last section of Heritage with the conditions that the roadside trees be changed to where that they have to be of the acceptable varieties, 1¼ inch caliber, with the specified number per the plat, and that the final selection is subject to Union County Urban Forestry review and anyone else's, Wesley Chapel.
Consensus with.
Consensus with Wesley Chapel and the Urban Forestry.
Second that.
Second, discussion. Well, wasn't this also the same community that there was a problem with the sewer smell?
Yes. Was it?
But it's across the street, right? It's not on our
No.
side.
Different issue, but same neighborhood.
And has that been resolved?
No.
Hmm.
But
Are
I
they
don't
on
think it's
septic?
this engineer. It's a prior engineer.
The smell is still there?
I have not heard otherwise, but I also haven't heard any more complaints since Deb went to that meeting.
Yeah. Do you know if that's been,
I'm not sure what we're tying into an existing trunk line, right there on the street. Is there a pump station or something?
I think there's probably a pump station on the north side of Old Evergreen Parkway that's getting, up over a little rise or something, that would come down through these sections on the south side of Old Evergreen Parkway. So there's a sewer line that goes back, along the creek through there, so I think it was a pump station issue.
Oh.
We're tying to gravity sewer, they typically don't have as much issue with smell and gravity sewer.
David, was your question designed to tie that as part of this, or?
I don't think you can. It's not this person. You can't hold him accountable for a sewer situation he didn't create.
That's why I was asking why David brought it up. I think it's an important issue for the residents. Is it pertinent to this portion of, are you trying to tie the two together?
No, I'm just asking. I wanted to make sure, I wanted to clarify as the same community that there was a problem with the sewer smell.
It is.
Okay. Well, then by giving the green light to 30 more homes to be built, is that going to affect the smell that the residents are already having troubles with? We don't know.
It's a fair question. It's not
Sure.
gonna get any better.
You're the most highly qualified to answer that.
I mean, if there is a pump station, we're not tying to that pump station directly, we're tying to, and I guess, I think the other question would be, has the pump station been taken over by Union County Public Works? So it might be something, so there's something where.
Yeah, I have not been involved in this conversation. I think the issue is in Indian Trail.
Okay, so if I understood you right, Mark, the route, the sewer, I mean, all 30 homes are going to be gravity?
Yes.
Okay. And not a pump station?
To the south of the lots, right there, yeah.
Perfect. That's what I needed to hear. Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? That's 3. All opposed? And 1 opposed. All right.
nothing personal.
All right. Any more questions for Vaughn?
Yes. So we had talked previously about timeline on applications, that there were really no timelines for either party of what doing. I know it was raised at the planning board. Where do we stand on that?
I did some more reading on that, and I need to do some more reading on that because I'm a little bit concerned about the intersection of some changes in legislation that might have, that some communities are using when they cite the length of time an application stays valid, and part of the Permit Choice Act, which is a bunch of legislative gobbledygook. I mean, it needs some further evaluation,
Okay.
but
Okay. That's all I need to know.
it does, we do need to do something about it.
But we want to do it the right way.
I looked at a few other communities' ordinances regarding that, and some things were sticking their noses out at me from them that gave me some pause about just doing anything administratively that might potentially running afoul of some legislation, so we don't want to do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Can we direct planning board to work on that
Yes.
modification? Council good with that? The modification for establishing new standards for street
For
trees?
street
For
trees
street
and
trees?
residential subdivisions, yeah. We'll take a look at that.
Okay. All right, anything else for Vaughn?
Deb, did you have a question on the minutes?
I talked to,
So it's been resolved?
Yeah, already about it, yeah, it's been resolved.
And so I do think it's an important distinction when we're talking about trees and tree save and everything else, to be able to clearly differentiate between street trees that could be impacted by DOT versus others.
Right.
Because we don't want just ornamental trees.
Right.
So,
And we require large maturing, well, we have options, there's
Yeah.
lots of options out there.
Who monitors the developer's protection of existing trees? If a developer ever would leave a tree, but I mean,
Nobody's been required to protect any yet, and so we're getting to the point soon where there might be one that has to.
because there's a whole process. I mean, the drip line, I mean, everything, you can't just.
Those are all changes to the ordinance that took place following anything that's being built right now that it applied to.
okay. But that's where Keith would come in, right?
Yes.
He would be the one to come in
He
and
would review
specify.
he would review the tree protection plans and stuff like that.
Right, and inspect if necessary, or if there were complaints.
Yeah, we could, have them go out and
Okay.
do that.
Okay. Anything else for planning?
Thank
All
you.
right. Brings us to the Parks and Rec report.
Well, since there's nobody here from Parks and Rec as the Parks and Rec liaison, I'll give the report. The only thing we have to report is the event we had Saturday, which was the Carols and Cocoa with Santa, which went off very well. It was very well attended. We had over 1,000, which was 1,000 residents attend. I think the final total was 1,047. So we did a very great turnout for the event. The weather was helpful. The vendors seemed to be very happy with us. They all had good sales. We had a couple of little hiccups, but nothing major. We had an issue where we had specifically asked for 3 off-duty officers to come work the event, 2 to cross people across Weddington Road, and 1 to stand at the bottom of the driveway to direct traffic over to Southwood Church. Apparently, we had 3 at the beginning of the event, and 20 minutes in, one of them had to leave, got called away on work. We haven't really gotten into the details of it, but I can't figure out how somebody would get called into work when they were basically working an off-duty job. So Mike Kennery, who's also our planning board chairman, was one of the officers who was working the Weddington Road, and he stepped up and took on the job of 2 people to safely cross people across Weddington Road. He wasn't happy about it, that one of his colleagues had to leave, but that was dealt with. And we need to make sure that in the future that we have the deputies show up a little bit earlier and stay a little bit later. There were some communication problems with Amy where they showed up right at the beginning of the event instead of 30 minutes before the event. So there was a couple people who crossed Weddington Road without sheriff's assistance, and we obviously don't want that to continue in the future. For safety reasons, let's see what else.
Well, we do have a member of the Parks and Rec committee here. Jim, do you want to approach and talk about your last meeting?
I wasn't actually at the last meeting, so.
Yeah, Jim was neither at the event nor his wife, and we really missed you at the event. Well, I was lucky enough to have a really good volunteer come in, help out with both the potatoes and the cocoa and the hot water and all that stuff. It was very well received. I went out of my way to talk with people that were attending the event, specifically how long they had to wait in line for the train, or how long they had to wait for the bounce house, or the face painter, or the balloon person. Everybody was very happy that we had a lot of diversity and that people were not waiting in line more than 10 or 15 minutes to get on the train or to get their kids' face painted. They also liked the fact that everything was spread out. We didn't have anything all bundled up in one spot. We had this, Santa up at the top with cocos by the bonfire, but we had face painters and balloon people along the trail around the flagpole, and of course the bounce house was in the overflow parking area. So we had everyone I spoke to said it was a good event. So we were well within our budget for the event, and like I said, the vendors were happy that they made sales. One of the vendors was a coffee trailer that was just selling different types of custom coffee drinks. She was surprised at how many people turned out with the still having cocos that we're doing at the bonfire for free. She was surprised how many coffee she sold, and she said that if we do this again, she'll bring a helper, so people wouldn't have to wait in line so long. We had good representation from the schools, a lot of kids, a lot of parents, a lot of grandparents. Still always had a problem with parking, which I think goes back to the deputies not being there early enough. We had a few senior citizens and handicapped people that didn't have any place to park because the parking lot was full. And we dealt with it. It was not a big deal. We let a few people park in the grass. And all in all, it was a very, very good event. The next big event we have for the park is going to be the Easter event that we partner with Southbrook Church, and that's always very well attended. Deb showed up at the event Saturday, so if there's anything you have to add.
No child left the park without a slap bracelet on.
And I passed out like 125
I made sure of that.
the other day.
Chase the kids around. You want one of these? Come here, come here. And the deputy, was called in for an emergency situation, probably like a SWAT thing or something. So, I mean, that's unavoidable. I mean, I get it, but that's I don't think we can really avoid stuff like that when they're called in on emergency.
We dealt with it.
Yeah.
Michael Kennery wasn't happy that he had to do the job of two people, but we dealt with it.
But I don't think we have any more slap bracelets. I think they're all gone now.
Nice.
We do still have plenty of coffee mugs.
Well, that's okay.
That's
We got rid of,
The pens, I think, are gone too. I think we're mostly out of pens.
we got through a lot of coffee mugs and pens.
You mentioned Southbrook, so I'll just say this real quick. I just found out that Southbrook is closing their preschool this May. So
Did they say one?
their church is headed in a new direction, and the preschool is very taxing to that building, and I'm very sad. All three of my kids went there. But it's very taxing to the building because they have to go from preschool to Sunday school to whatever they use it for. That's break up and break down all the time. And that their church is moving to plant a new church in Indian Trail, and they want to focus the finances and personnel on that. So but it is very sad. Very sad. So.
But as far as the Cocoa Carols, you guys did a great job, the Parks and Rec and
The committee's involved.
Mine was- there with bells on.
And you
Carrying
missed the
one thing
first
on one
event?
arm, one thing on the other.
I would like you to not be allowed near the bonfire with your fire starting tendencies.
Do what?
I would like you
You're an
not near the
arsonist, you're not
bonfire
allowed near the fire.
with your fire starting tendencies.
Don't go near the bonfire because you started a fire here.
We left the bonfire to the Boy Scouts, who
good.
did a very good job.
Yeah.
Then
Probably
not only
good
did they
thing.
start the fire, they took care of cooking John's potatoes, which were a huge hit. I think we ended up going through 250 cups of hot cocoa. We went through 30 pounds of potatoes,
Wow.
along with butter, sour cream. We did,
So odd.
we just did phenomenal. And Amy was great. She had the numbers right. I think we had like 3 packets of cocoa left when we were done, out of the 250 that we had. So,
Yeah.
we did run low on s'mores, but of course, with 1,000 people there, the s'mores, we only had 250 prepackaged graham crackers, marshmallows, and chocolate. So those went, I think the last 35, 45 minutes we were out. So,
And you two missed the first event that it wasn't 100 degrees.
We did.
you were definitely missed, both of you.
Well, we're sorry we couldn't be there.
Yeah.
That was-
I know that the kids at my school were so excited to be part of it. Like they were. When you have one of those kid events, those parents will come.
We had the kids singing, we had the bands playing. Of course, that brings the parents, the grandparents, and everybody else out. And it was a good event.
Awesome. All right. So Lori, you wanted to move the scout project. Oh,
Yes. Where is it? I was looking at the draft, and in that, it says, I don't know if I got the right copy, that basically the scout presents to Parks and Rec, and then Parks and Rec presents to council. And since I've been on council, the scout has always come and presented to council for approval.
that's right.
So, I think that needs to be changed.
May I clarify? I was told that they present it to the Park and Rec, who makes a recommendation to council, and then they present to council. I only changed the first part of the policy, there was no list, because this is, I might have wordsmithed it, but I didn't change the process.
It doesn't read that the scout will present to council anymore.
At all?
No, it doesn't say that. It needs to say
Good
that once if Parks and Rec reviews it and they think it's good, they make a recommendation to council, then the scout presents it to council and council approves the project. And then when the project is finished, the scout then gives us an update for us to recognize their work. Typical.
Item number 3 is the
I
question.
think that's what you meant to say, but you just forgot to put in there, the scout presents, not the committee presents to council.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I know the intent, I'll make sure it reads that way.
That's what that was. Thank you.
Was that your
Job,
only,
Igor.
was that your only amendment?
Yeah, it was just like, no, I like the scouts coming and presenting to us.
Oh, absolutely.
And I like them coming when they finish because it's a big deal to them to go through these major projects and they deserve the recognition.
And they've all realized after they've gotten their Eagle Scout badge that the paperwork is the hardest part.
Yeah.
It's not doing the job, it's doing the paperwork.
I wish all of them were as speedy as Logan.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the scout policy, the Eagle Scout policy as
It's not
amended.
Eagle Scouts, Scouts, because we have Girl Scouts too.
Uh,
Oh, it says completion of Eagle Scout projects, but we also have Girl Scout projects that follow the same policy.
So approve the amended scout policy.
Right, need to amend the
And
title
take
to
out
take out Eagle.
Just put scout policy.
Yep. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Takes a village. All right, that brings us, anything else for Parks and Rec?
No?
Okay, this one will be quick. I have reached out to the Buzz about renting their space for the board and committee appreciation. It'll be a dinner, it won't be a lunch, because people do work. And I am going to aim we have not compared our calendars yet, but I am gonna aim, last year we did it on January 30th. I'm gonna aim for late January, early February.
And who are you trying to do it with?
The Buzz,
What's the buzz?
it's a bar, brewery, and they have like food and stuff too.
Across from the fitness center.
It used to be the ice cream store, Ralph's.
Before that was a coffee and tea
It used
shop
to be Ralph's.
Okay.
or something.
If that doesn't work out, I'll
Yeah, it's
keep
across from
going.
the fitness center.
I hope to send out a save the date by the end of this week.
Are you familiar with the new place they've got in downtown Waxhaw that used to be the Bojangles?
Well, I want to do it in Wesley Chapel.
That's true.
I want to support our businesses.
I just request that not be January 30th,
Not January 30th?
because I'm fasting that day for a doctor's appointment.
Not January 30th. Okay,
And I'd like to be able to enjoy it.
sure. I will work on that and I'll send a save the date soon. WIMA was here. It was a fairly low-key meeting. We will not meet in the month of December. Let's see, they wanted to keep, look at the minutes, the North Carolina Highway Safety Grant, talking about several municipalities going in for money to pay for a deputy that could work in multiple municipalities on safety issues. Weddington had a good tree lighting event. Apparently their council is still having some drama over certain developments. Marvin is going to have a tree lighting on December 14th. They're still seeking lights on their roundabout and
Seeking what?
lighting on their roundabout. We do have a resident who's upset that Marvin has gotten quite a few roundabouts and we can't even get the two funded in our area, two built in our area. I did hear that DOT has gone back to a roundabout for 84 in Wesley Chapel.
Great.
So we'll see if that changes back again. But I just heard that last Wednesday. Mineral Springs, they aren't going to have a holiday event. It will be interesting to see with the new council, and I will let Lori and Deb speak to this in their council comments, but it will be interesting to see if Waxhaw, the new board, comes back to the WUMA table. And they are going to try to invite Brian Matthews to speak with the group in February of next year with an update on the water and sewer, and invite the new county commissioner to the January meeting to meet. So,
Quick question, you had mentioned the potential of WUMA bringing in a deputy to do multiple municipalities.
it's called the North Carolina, let me find the name, North Carolina Traffic Safety Grant. Yeah, NC Highway Safety Grant.
So that
And-
is something, we would not be out of pocket?
That I don't know. Jeff's going to present on it in
And-
January.
One of the questions I'd like to have resolved or answered when you discuss it or debate it is whether we, as the municipality, get to set the schedule versus having,
Oh, absolutely not.
we don't get to set the schedule. So we pay the bill, we just don't.
Well, this is a grant, so no, we don't pay the bill. It would just be officers assigned to do safety work in whoever applies. But Jeff's going to talk to it in January.
I would just, and not just with this deputy, but with our current contract deputy, I'd be able to have some kind of input on when he works. I mean, we told Brandon in advance that we were going to be doing the Christmas and Cocos with Santa. We told him that in the spring, that we were going to have this event last Saturday. And I would like in the future that we have our contract deputy work our events. And I don't think that's a big ask.
But
No,
you
I
don't
think-
mean for traffic, you need to be in the park.
Just in the park as I'm the face of Wesley Chapel's safety.
And we have asked that, so we have asked that repeatedly. I don't know if he was on vacation. We can ask him Thursday.
We always know when these events are going to happen. We know the date and the times, and he's yet to work a single event in the 10 years that I've,
He has been at events.
Yeah,
He
he
has
has.
been at
I've
events.
seen him.
He was at the summer one. He was at the car show, I know.
He was at the 25th.
25th
Yeah.
celebration.
Since we asked him, he has done better. I know that there is time, he was on a 2-week cruise and like I know he does have vacation, but so we can ask why he was not there.
it would have solved a couple of problems if he'd been there.
We wouldn't have been down a man.
Well, yes, technically no, but yes.
I can follow up with him.
And I had asked Amy on that, since we pay for that through the app, whether we're still paying for the deputy.
No, we will
What's the
only
pay?
pay for what they worked. Yeah, because Kathy hasn't paid it yet,
Okay,
so she'll double check.
Was he here anytime at all?
20 minutes. He
20
got here,
minutes?
And he clocked in and out in 1 hour. I can double check that.
Amy told me it was less than 20 minutes.
I'll look, I think he was here an hour, and the other two, one clocked out like 8 minutes to 1, and then Henry was here till a few minutes after 1.
But it was supposed to be 30 minutes before the event started, 30 minutes after the event was over.
It depends on what we actually put in the system. If we put 10 to 1, then that's when they show up 10
Right.
to 1.
Well, I think that was a mistake Amy had made, and Amy and I talked about that it should always be, people are showing up before the event starts, and then after the event ends, it takes another 30 minutes to clear people out. So it should always be a 30-minute minimum beforehand and after for the event.
You could change it to 9:30 to 1:30 when you put them in.
Yeah, that's exactly that's what we had thought we did, but Amy confirmed that no, she just put it down as 10 to 1, and that was a mistake that we had made.
Right. And Amanda will work with her on that
Yep.
to make sure that she's set.
Where's the next WOMA meeting going to be?
In January, it will be at,
I want to say Marvin.
I want to say Marvin too, let's see. Hold on, I'm on the wrong meeting minutes. I can let you know. I want to say it's Marvin, but
Okay. Just when you find out, let me know. I really think those are so interesting to find out what other towns are doing. I've only been to one, but it just was very interesting.
it'll be back here in May.
Okay. While you're checking on January's, there was one other thing that Mayor Craig Horn shared, so that he had a conversation with Sheriff Eddie Cathy.
Oh, about the patrol?
Yeah, several weeks prior, when he was assigned to the North Carolina Highway Patrol in 1978. There was a little less than 50,000 residents of Union County, and the Highway Patrol had assigned 19 Highway Patrol officers to Union County. Fast forward to 2023, we've got over 250,000 residents of the county. Guess how many Highway Patrol?
19,
19, that's right,
no change.
no change. So I think until that gets addressed, we're probably gonna run the risk of having 3 deputies to start with an event and possibly 1 or 2 to end the event. And I don't know that anything's being done to remedy that, but it is a huge need.
It was going to stay on the agenda, so.
Well, just to say something nice about Sheriff Cathy, is that originally, I don't think that sheriff deputies were allowed to work traffic accidents, but he was able to change that so that his deputies could work accidents because of the fact that, like you said, there's only 19 for the entire county, and that's made a big difference in the residents, especially the ones that have had accidents, in their perception.
It's in Marvin.
Thank you.
January's in Marvin. All right. So that brings us to council and mayor comments. Who wants to go first?
I always like to go first. Well, just because there's different people in the audience now. The same thing that I said at last Monday's meeting, You know, I really appreciate all the people that are sitting to my left. I've been up here for, it's been 10 years. And the last 4 have been the easiest 4 that I had of the 10. And I wanted to thank you guys specifically for that. I hope it continues. I'm sure it will.
I hope you don't burn that down.
Yeah.
Village Hall.
You're never
You're
letting me live
never
that
gonna
down.
live
are
that
you?
down, ever,
Yeah.
ever,
Nope.
ever.
It wasn't even a fire, it was just smoke.
It was close to a fire.
Where there's
Yeah,
smoke,
with the
there's fire.
Or there's smoke, there's smoke.
All right, next.
I can go. So last week, Deb and I had lunch with some new council members from Waxhaw, the mayor and council member from Mineral Springs. It was just set up as a way for, you know, an informal way to talk and everything else. I think in particular, the new 3 council members in Waxhaw really may not fully understand what they've gotten into. And so I think it was an opportunity for them to meet and talk with other towns and council members to at least have a point of contact from the standpoint of who we are, what our towns that we're doing, and everything else. I mean, they're just a much bigger town, so there's definitely some differences they have to deal with there. But it was nice. It was nice to, you know, meet some of the new people. It wasn't a real meeting or anything. It was mainly just lunch and come and chit chat. But just encourage them to learn all they can, take all the training they can, because it's a lot. It's a fire hose when you first get started.
You have to remember the one thing you always have to tell a new politician.
I'm sorry.
Congratulations, and I'm sorry. Because congratulations that you won, and at the same time, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But it was, yeah, I think they they were excited, but also I think there was a little bit of nervousness coming in too.
Yeah, they're walking into a hot mess.
Yeah, I was trying to not say that.
I'm sorry. They're walking into a tough situation.
Yes, they are. But it was very nice to get together and, you know, just chit chat a little bit. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was really very laid back and mostly just, I think you kind of divided into groups of people talking on this end and people on the other end about, you know, they asked questions and wanted to know, you know, any advice that would be given and stuff. It was really good. I wish we could do something like that more often.
Yeah.
You know.
Anyway.
Did you have any?
The only other thing I would say is just, you know, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa.
All right, next.
I'm good.
Just two
Gonna be
comments.
brief tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna be brief tonight.
Yeah.
I won't get up on the pulpit. But there are 2 things though that I shared in last week's swearing in ceremony. And those are working with residents, especially when they come up with ideas. I'm tickled that we're getting some traction on the stormwater runoff issues. And that was brought to us by concerned residents. We've also had a concerned resident come and say that he would like for us to put together a proclamation to push forward with maybe avenues in addition to NCDOT to try to get some of these critical intersections pushed maybe. I think if we have residents that are interested in doing that, I think as a council we need to support that. And then secondly, preservation of historical properties. I would like to see us address that in some manner. I just don't know how, and I would like for us to give that some.
It's in our 2050 comp plan that we preserve and, I'm sorry, I'm talking.
No.
That we, you know, try to preserve our historical properties. I mean, that's actually in our comp plan, one of the guiding principles. So, yeah, we need to do that.
That's all.
Since the last meeting, I think, I have talked to a Boy Scout group here, and I spoke to, I took time off so I could be a private citizen, and spoke to, 3rd grade. And I made the mistake of talking about the #1 crime in Wesley Chapel, and asked them to tell their parents to lock their cars, and I think that's all they heard. Because every single question almost was about, my dad's had his car broken into. My mom had a car broken into. What if a baby gets locked in a car? It's very interesting. But it was very fun. I gave out a bunch of Deb's slap bracelets, so it was fun. And then they all campaigned to be mayor of their class.
Oh, nice.
And my son won. I don't know how. It could have been
Fix.
nepotism.
Fix.
But
Nepo baby.
yeah. So, but it was fun. It was nice to do something like that with the little ones. But that's all. Merry Christmas, everybody. So that brings us to a closed session. So if everybody else wants to go, then we don't have to leave our chairs. You can stay, but you can't listen.
Who made that motion?
Nobody made a motion yet.
Motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Second by Deb, all in favor, and unanimous.
Is Kathy coming in?
No, she's gonna go to her office.